So here is a tip. If you're writing a murder mystery, put one dead body quite close to the front. Worth remembering.
Yes.
It's actually good advice. Oftentimes, if I'm writing, I write kind of in and around the crime thriller genre, suspense, mystery, crime, but also I lean into horror, I lean into more literary and like atmospheric writing. I'm a bit all over the place. And oftentimes my agent, when she reads the manuscript before it goes off to my editor, will say, can you just add in a murder? Like, could you just, or bring out this death scene, this murder scene? Because I'm not that interested in the crime. I'm more interested in the impact it has on the community, the impact, the ripples it has on my cast of characters. But she's quite right that sometimes you have to bring that out because it exists in my head, three-dimensional. It exists in my head in really like rich colors. But if I'm not bringing that out on the page, how is the reader supposed to see it?
Otherwise, people are going to be going like this. Where's the murder?
Many of your books contain emotionally draining scenes. How do you deal with this as a writer?
Emotionally draining scenes.
Yes.
Let me tell you a story. When my kids were about 5, they said, we're putting on a play. And they sold tickets to the play. They were 25 cents. So we bought a ticket to the play and we went to the play. There were 2 of them. And the play started, they were having breakfast. It's the breakfast motif. And they were saying things like, could I have some orange juice? Yes, here it is. I would like some milk, please. Here's the milk. Could I please have some cereal? Here's the cereal. This went on for a while. And I said, is anything else going to happen? And they said, no. And I said, well, in that case, we're leaving. And when you think of something else...
Things need to happen. And they can be very quiet things. They can be a very quiet conversation between 2 people, but stuff needs to happen. The story needs to have momentum and some energy. Even a quiet, slow story needs to have some energy, something pushing it forwards. And often that's an internal conflict and an external conflict. And you need obstacles for your characters. It's just basics. Like if it's a highly literary piece of work and nothing happens and it's beautifully written, it can be great. Sometimes I love that, but generally you need something to push things forwards.
What's going to happen, we'll come back to see the rest of it. So a story isn't just this and that and this and that and this and that. Something has to happen. Mm-hmm. And the something that has to happen should be a surprise to the person reading the book, and often to you, the person writing the book. Mm-hmm. And
if something happens to a character, but the reader doesn't care about the character, isn't invested in that character, then they're just going to skip over it. It will have no emotional resonance whatsoever. So the underpinning of all of this is to create characters that feel real and flawed and human, that the reader will care for and that you as the writer care for. And then whatever you put them through, people will be invested. People will really want to know what happens and to make sure they'll be okay.
Of course, some of those things are going to be emotionally draining scenes, because if it's just one happy event after another, people are going to be going, is anything else going to happen? So I think we have emotionally draining things in books because it allows us in a way to wonder how we, the reader, would deal with that. Mm-hmm. So how is the character in the book dealing with it? Do you think they're dealing with it well? Or do you think they're not dealing with it well? And if it...
I mean, this is fundamentally, I think, why we read. It's so that we can ride that roller coaster in safety. It's so that we can live through those big life experiences, the life and death and birth and grieving and love, and we can live through it safely and we can rehearse it and we can see how we would deal with some of those huge situations. And writing fiction is a way to, or reading fiction is a way to, and writing fiction is a way to travel in time and space and to experience, pre-experience some of those huge things.
Were you, how might you deal with it? So when you're reading the book, you're right there with the character. So don't open that door. They open the door. Don't go in. They go in.
Yeah.
So you are wondering all the time, what would I do?
There is a limit, by the way, to how often you can put your character in a situation and then make the wrong decision or open the door and go down the dark passageway. Sometimes it's good to write that they don't go through that door, actually, because just to add a level of authenticity to the narrative.
If I were that person, you know, if I were Harry Potter, how would I deal with the dragon that is about to be executed? Like that.
Okay, so while I'm unsure of what the equivalence is in Canada, many of my friends in sixth form that are taking English literature are currently studying The Handmaid's Tale in their A-level studies. How do you feel that some of the current, maybe future writers of tomorrow are studying your work?
Well, they've been doing it for a while. And
It's
I think
awesome.
we've seen some books and things coming along that you might call relatives of The Handmaid's Tale. Because remember, it was published first in 1985, which is quite a long time ago. And at the time, quite a few people said, this will never happen. This will never happen in the United States. Jump cut to 32 years later. What can I tell you? It's happening.
It is a terrifying book. You might have seen the TV adaptation, which is, I've only watched the beginning of that and it was great, but the book is utterly haunting. It's terrifying. It's worth reading if you haven't read it yet.
Not quite the same way, and not with the outfits. But there's been a rollback of women's rights and a pushback, and we're seeing that happening before our very eyes, which is why people, apart from the fact that it's a very good TV series, that's why people got so involved in it. It didn't seem like a fantasy anymore. So how do I feel about it? If there are no young writers, there will be no future readers. So every group of young writers that's coming along is continuing the tradition of reading and writing. So they're part of.
I like that, how she explains that. I often find this in a writing festival. If I attend a writing festival in Harrogate or in the Hamptons or wherever, it's such a community feel, it's a family feel. If I'm there on stage, I'm there with an author who is way more well-known than I am. And I'm learning from them, I'm listening to every word they say. And there are other authors more well-known than me in the audience watching me speak. And that's always very touching. And then in the green room afterwards, we get to talk. And then in the bar afterwards, we get to talk. And I get to talk to readers. And a lot of those readers are also writers. And we all feed off each other. And I do like that. There is a real community, collaborative feel. And I've made lifelong friends through the book community. And so it's worth, if you're a reader or if you're a writer, it's worth going to in-person events if you can.
A very long history. But if all of a sudden there weren't any young writers, that tradition would stop. So that's why it's a good idea to encourage young writers. If you're keen on the idea of books and reading.
That's one reason I have this little channel, is that I want to encourage writers who are not from writing families, who are not from the literati, who are not from London and New York and Paris, writers who are from blue-collar towns, writers who have never met a writer, writers who didn't go to university. I want to hear their stories. And that's partly why I'm trying to kind of lift the lid on publishing and on writing and encourage people to tell your stories, because I, for one, want to read them.